present and there are online Santos district staff and extended UIC family, other individuals that are hearing us on YouTube and through other communication avenues. 3 p.m. on the 7th day of July 2020, and I call this meeting of the United Independent School District Board of Trustees to order. If everybody can just please call out their name. My full name, Ramiro Vélez.
Ricardo Rick Rodriguez, present.
Alisa Oliveros, present.
All right, so let the record show that the quorum of board members is present, that the meeting has been duly called, and that the notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act. All right, any public comments? No public comments submitted. All right, so we'll go to agenda number 5, items for individual consideration. 5A, approval of appraisals for the 2020-2021 school year.
You guys do allegiance? You want to do the pledge?
You want to do the pledge? We can do the pledge, yes.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
All right, so item 5A, approval of appraisals for 2020-2021 school year.
Feliz, Mr. Santos, ladies and gentlemen, the action item that's being presented by administration is recommending for the 2021 school year the list of all certified appraisers that will be all teachers in instructional settings. Of course, they have been approved for recertification for the upcoming school year. They total approximately 185 at this time.
Do we have a motion as presented?
So move.
Motion.
Motion.
Second.
Second, all those in favor, aye.
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 Those opposed? None opposed, motion passes. Item 5B, approval of teacher appraisal pattern for the 2020-2021 school year.
Mr. Feliz, Mr. Santos, ladies and gentlemen, the administration is recommending for your consideration and with approval the appraisal calendar for the 2021 school year. But it simply means in an effort to comply with the law, we need to specifically identify the dates and the times that observations can take place, and of course restrictions where they cannot. At the beginning, July 27th through the 30th, this is new teacher orientation that has been scheduled August 3rd through the 6th, is professional development for returning teachers. The rest of the information provided on this calendar gives specific directions to all the appraising administrators as to the specific details that need to be followed in order to comply with statute.
Correct. And obviously with us starting the year in remote, there's going to be some variation as far as observations, appraising of the teachers.
Yes, sir, that is correct.
Okay.
The administration will work closely with the curriculum and instruction department and of course establish those guidelines in order to meet the requirements of this process.
Do we have a motion as presented?
Move.
Second.
Second, any discussion? All those in favor, aye.
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 Those opposed? None opposed, motion passes.
So I got it. Let me
Item
see.
5C, level 3 grants presentation.
All right, got it. Thank you.
Alta Canela,
Okay, bye.
Canela, Edna Olmeda, Irma Zavala, and newly situated UISD educators. Look how they're doing. For the record, we have Mr. Judd Gilpin present at the boardroom. We're moving to closed session?
No, it's gonna be an open session.
Open session, okay. All right, so we have the level 3 employee grievance presentation. Okay, this is the board level appeal of Alberta Canela, Edna Almeda, Irma Zavala, and similarly situated UIZ educators regarding their level 3 grievance. In accordance with UIZ board policy DGBA local, the parties agreed to begin this grievance at level 3 due to the fact that the grievance are complaining of board action that took place on May 13, 2020. My name is Ramiro Ellis. May the board members who are present please state their name for the record.
Gilman.
Ricardo Rick Rodriguez.
Alisa Oliveros.
We have Mr. Ramirez.
Ricardo Molina.
Mr. Molina is present as well. All right.
Yes, sir. I'm here.
For the record, may the grievance, the representative and district representatives, please introduce themselves at this time. I think we do have some grievance connected.
Yes, Tony Con, and I have my representing the grievance after PSBA. That would be Alberta Canela, Ed Almeida, and Irma, similarly situated teachers.
Good afternoon, Mr. Connors and other individuals. We have district staff here. Here.
Yeah, Roberto Santos, Superintendent for United ISD.
The Associate Superintendent, Human Resources.
Thank you. All right, so let me read through the instructions real quick. To provide a record of the proceedings and argue further, the board and the grievance representative have been provided with an approximately 303-page record of January of the following documents: 1, May 29, level 1 grievance and public information request. 2, regarding grievance level 8, 2020 letter regarding level 3 grievance. 4, email correspondence between council to reschedule June 16, 2020 level 3 grievance. 5, June 23, 2020 notice letter regarding July 7, 2020 level 3 hearing. 6, agenda of May 13, 2020 UIZ board meeting. 7, unapproved draft minutes of May 13, 2020 UIZ board meeting. 8, 2020-2021 UIZ employment contracts and forms. 9, UIZ online learning through Google Classroom guidelines and resources. 10, UIZ's employee personnel electronic use guidelines draft. 11, option to work from home or staggered schedule. 12, consent to use personal communication device. 13, UIZ equipment checkout form. 14, grievance employment contract for 2019-2020 and 2020-2021. 15, UIZ classroom teacher job descriptions for 2019-2020 and 2020-2021. 16, board policy DGBA local. 17, board policy DK local. 18, board policy DG legal. 19, board policy local. 20, board policy DEA local. 1, board policy DEA legal. 22, board policy CQ local. 23rd, board policy CQ legal. For Texas Education Code, section 31.104. 25, for Texas Education Code, section 220.0511. And 26, grievance supplement to the local record. Each level 3 grievance being conducted in accordance with DGBA local, the district's policy governing employee complaints. I will now instruct the grievance and district representative on procedures to be followed in this appeal presentation as provided by DGBA local. The board will listen impartially to a presentation by both the grievance and the district representative. The grievance shall present first, followed by the district representative. Following both presentations, the board will consult with its legal counsel and deliberate the grievance in closed session pursuant to section 551.071 of the Texas Government Code. The rules for the level 3 grievance appeal presentation are as follows. 1, only one person may speak at a time. 2, the grievance participants shall conduct themselves with common courtesy and respect for the rights of others. The grievance and district representative will each be afforded 10 minutes, which is a reasonable time limit to make their presentations. And however, additional time may be afforded at the request of the grievance and at my discretion. If additional time is allotted to the grievance, the district representative will be afforded an equal amount of time. Four, the board members may not be questioned. Five, at the conclusion of both the grievance and district representatives' presentations and questions from the board shall consider the grievance complaint. The board may give notice of this decision orally or in writing at any time up to and including the next regularly scheduled board meeting. Again, to provide a record of the proceedings, audio recording is being made. Please avoid speaking when others are speaking so that the record will reflect the proceedings accurately. At this point, are there any questions regarding the presentation?
Yes, there are. This is for the record again, this is Tony Connors, and I've got two things. The first thing is that I also want to make sure included in the record is the documents responsive to the open records request that I made on May 29th, 2020. And I received from the school attorney's office, Steve Troutman, on June 16th, 2020, 188 pages. I asked it to be part of the record, and I did disclose that intention last week, so I'd make sure that's part of the record. That's my first item. I'd like to include that in the record as well.
That information that
That was number one.
Okay. All right, Mr. Connors. Yeah, that's granted. That should be information that's already part of the record. And if there's any misunderstanding, I'm saying that all that information will be included in the record, sir.
Okay, that's fair enough. I'm able to see that. The other thing is that this is an unusual level 3 appeal because we're going directly to the board. We did not have a level 1 or level 2. This is an original proceeding rather than appeal. It also is a little more complicated. It's not a single reprimand or a single issue. It involves very important, timely issues. And I know your time is valuable, but I believe we are entitled to a reasonable amount of time. I would ask for 20 minutes, and hopefully I can give you some time back so I don't have to rush through. But I prepared my presentation so I can provide you in a very succinct, brief, hopefully persuasive way of the concerns that my clients and similarly situated teachers have in this pandemic. So I would ask for indulgence another 10 minutes.
Right. We'll start with an additional 5 minutes, Mr. Connors. So you'll have an initial 15 minutes, and I can give you the time exactly at the 10-minute mark, and then we'll go from there. But I'll grant you an additional 5 minutes right now. So if you want to proceed, Mr. Connors, with the presentation, and I'll start taking time.
Okay, I'll go ahead and proceed. Okay, then. Now, I'm here on behalf of 3 experienced teachers. We have Mrs. Canella, who's at the Lamar Rooney Middle School. I'm sorry, we have we have experienced teachers, 2 elementary and middle school teachers, experience from 19 to over 27, 30 years. And we also have a number of members outside that show the support who brave the heat and the possible exposure to show how important this is. We ask that you recognize them as well. Now, we're here in order to address unfair challenges and barriers placed on my clients and other teachers for this upcoming 2021 school year with likely distance learning is what we're likely to be facing for at least the fall, maybe the whole year or longer.
Go back over there. Well, so I don't. It's because I'm part of the grievance, so I don't even know.
I don't know what's going on here. I'm interrupted.
I'm just going to remind everybody, Mr. Connors, you're the one doing the presentation. See, we trying to see if we can have just one person speak. Everybody else, if they can mute their microphone, please.
Okay, well, if I can continue on. I don't know who raised the objection, but now, the biggest asset that United ISD has, as any other school district has, in delivery of educational services is going to be the teachers, because the teachers are the ones that provide instruction. Yet when major changes were needed because of this momentous pandemic, and a number of changes were made for this school year and planning for this coming school year, that affected the teachers, no one bothered to get input from teachers. This is the first time that the school board is getting information directly from teachers through their organizations and representatives. And that's a big problem. And that should be fixed. So we start having these problems because we're united, as the name says, in more ways than one. But there's three major burdens that we're here today about. It's this, through policy and through contracts for this coming school year, taking of teachers' personal devices for use in performing job duties. The possibility through their contracts and other provisions facing reassignment outside of their professional capacity if distance learning occurs and the supervisors see it as something they want to do. The third area of concern is forfeiture of pay if the district property is found to be stolen, lost, or destroyed. Now, let me briefly explain why each of these burdens is illegal, arbitrary, capricious, unreasonable, and in violation of the Educator Code of Ethics found in Board Policy DH Exhibit, as well as 19 Texas Administrative Code Section 247.2, particularly standards 1.7 and 2.4. Let me start with personal devices. Under 6.1 of the current contracts, term contracts for 2021, as well as new conditions that are found in the local record under pages 44 through 46 and in the job description on page 59, teachers are now required to use personal cell phones, computers, and internet service while working from home when they're providing distance learning. This contract provision was part of a contract that was drafted by the district and presented to teachers on a take it or leave it basis. Teachers were called in staggered times to come in and sign their contract. They were not allowed to make a copy and review and get back with them. They were clearly being given the signal that they could not make any changes. They had to sign the contract or else they were considered to have rejected in contract. In fact, if you look at term contract provision number 11, including the one that Ms. Cannella signed, it said that if you didn't sign and return by a date certain, that you would be deemed as rejecting the offer of employment. Similarly, the district has adopted procedures and guidelines to implement the personal devices and other contract terms that are at issue in this group. Anyway, these personal devices requirements are illegal and unreasonable, as well as arbitrary and capricious beyond the legislative expectation of what's appropriate for Chapter 21 term contracts. These provisions violate the Texas Constitution, Article 1, Section 17, that states that no personal property shall be taken, damaged, destroyed, or applied for personal use without adequate compensation. If I had sufficient time, more than 15 minutes, if this was I would be able to give you a number of examples, but at this point I'm limited to just to state what our concerns are. But a teacher's cell phone or other personal devices are not school property and have not been properly designated as donations for public purposes. Besides being an unconstitutional taking, these provisions raise serious compliance requirements for the district as well as the teachers in the areas of the Family Education Rights Privacy Act found in 20 U.S.C. Section 1239 or 34 CFR Part 99. They have requirements of confidentiality and retention of personal student information that would be found and used in these personal devices as a requirement of public employment. The district, as far as I can tell, does not have any existing policy safeguards to effectively address these new requirements of using personal devices for delivery of public education. In the end, it's the state's, it's a school district's responsibility. It is the local education agency, United ISD, under the oversight of the state education agency as a condition in funding to meet the requirements of FERPA. And you have a policy and practice that does not cover that. Similarly, concerns about implementation on the Texas Public Information Act found in Chapter 552 of the Texas Government Code. As a result of last session, Senate Bill 944, they created requirements that records, including text, emails, and other social messaging relating to public or school business, that they come under the record retention and disclosure requirements of the Texas Public Information Act. even if they're being used on personal or private electronic devices. So basically, it's the content, not the type of device. So if you're using personal devices, they're subject to the same requirements that you would have on an official school computer or phone. Again, based on my review, the district has no existing policies and procedures to effectively address these new personal devices requirements vis-a-vis the Texas Public Information Act requirements of confidentiality, safeguard, record retention. Furthermore, under the Texas Public Information Act, Section 552.024, subsection A, as well as in the Education Code under Section 38.027, teachers, like other public employees, they have a right not to release their personal telephone and email information. And these personal device requirements are compromising these rights. Now, it's not that simple to block your number, because that would make the personal device ineffective, because the purpose of taking calls and receiving calls is to know who it's coming from and to respond. If they block the call, they can't call them back. You can't call a block call. It defeats the whole purpose. But in the end, my clients and similarly situated teachers are having their rights of non-disclosure being adversely affected. Now, because of these legal compliance problems, these personal device requirements place significant and serious burdens on teachers and similarly situated employees, including, let me quickly count the ways. Many teachers don't have personal computers and laptops, so they'll have to go out and buy some. Many have older, outdated cell phones and computers that will need to be upgraded to support the required applications that are used by the district learning. Because when district goes out and buys applications, especially for social learning, distance learning, they're not getting the old versions. They're using the more newer versions. So you're requiring teachers to spend money to acquire and learn new technology. Also, many teachers are teachers by nature are not making big money. They're not big buck people. They're not developers. They're not engineers. They're not lawyers. They don't make big money. They're on a budget, and often they have limited family plans. They have limited data and cell usage. And if they're going to be using their personal devices and their phones, that's going to eat up. And it's going to exhaust their data usage and increase the cost, which apparently are required to spend a lot more money on the unlimited plans, which can be hundreds of dollars a month. And some teachers do not have reliable internet at home. So they will need to purchase internet in order to perform their required duties. Teachers will be expected to answer their cell phone calls not only during the school day, when it will cause some disruption, but also outside of school hours. Parents will expect it to take their calls after school on the weekend. If they don't, there will be complaints. Teachers will have greater risk of engaging in inappropriate communications in relation to students if phone and text and email records show communications outside of the normal district hours and activities. And this could lead to possible confiscation through an investigation of cell phones and personal devices that will not only deny usage during the confiscation, but also possible risk of loss, but also importantly, invasion of personal privacy. Personal devices by their nature are for personal use that typically contain confidential and or sensitive personal information about family and other important relations and associations. Sometimes personal opinions and activities are incompatible with public expectations of educators. But these requirements are risking trampling over the legitimate privacy interests of keeping school business separate from one's personal life. Teachers
There's a 10-minute mark, Mr. Connors, just so you know.
Okay, teachers should not have less rights or expectations because United ISD doesn't want to pay the providing the required distant learning due to COVID-19 pandemic. Significant cost savings by having schools and buildings closed, savings in climate control, electric and water, more than enough to cover the additional costs to provide technology for for teachers to perform the distance learning. Plus, both the federal government and state, through their respective education agencies, have provided additional funding to help defray or address some of the costs associated with distance learning. Many districts, including right there in Laredo ISD, they provide technology, they provide technology for their employees to work remotely. Plus, other districts provide stipends. Stipends is not a new concept. Stipends are provided to administrators, to other professionals for using their personal vehicles or property. You all are given computers. The board members are given computers, access to computers and internet. Now, this whole idea about having them come onto the school to use the school stuff if they don't want to use their personal, that doesn't work. It doesn't work. Number one, it increases the risk of exposure. Number two, it might not be possible because the governor and the district may close down their facilities, and no supervisor can override them. It's also not practical because the need to communicate with parents and students is daily, unpredictable. It's just not practical to have them run to the classroom to try to make calls that they need to take. The second area of concern is the purported ability to reassign a teacher like Ms. Canella under Section 4.2 of her 2020-21 term contract to a different professional capacity if the school or district is closed. Notwithstanding the cause of the school closing, pandemic or otherwise, Ms. Canella and similarly situated teachers under a term contract who have not received notice of proposed non-renewal last year, like Ms. Canella, are entitled to employment in the same professional capacity as last year under Section 21.206B of the Texas Education Code. The courts and the commissioner have consistently ruled that you cannot alter or change the statutory requirements of Chapter 21 by contract. There is no COVID exception. The third and final area of concern is Section 6.1 of the term contract for the 2021 school year that has the employees agree that the district may deduct the value of any lost or damaged school equipment from the employee's final paychecks. Again, these provisions were written into a contract by the district without any input from the teacher or other party, and without any exceptions or conditions to temper the forfeiture provisions in Section 6.1. Anyhow, this Section 6.1 violates. This Section 6.1 violates the requirements, conditions found in Section 31.104 and Section 22.051 D2 Texas Education Code, providing immunity from financial responsibility if the use of school property is done in good faith and within the scope and course of duties. Plus, this forfeiture constitutes an impermissible self-help provision that's not allowed or favored under the law for contracts. I have about 3 minutes just to sum up what we're asking for. Any problem doing that real quick?
We'll finish 3 minutes, Mr. Connors. No.
Okay, so based on these concerns, we're requesting that these contract provisions and related terms be withdrawn and appropriate corrective action be provided. And what we can think on this end, we can identify the problems, but we're open to trying to get solutions. And what we are kicking around the idea is to provide devices for the teachers who do not want to use their personal devices for one reason or another, so that they can do their distance learning, including the use of, cell phones, tablets, laptops, and computers. I know that a number of teachers do have laptops, and a number of teachers have no problem with their cell phone, but some do for many reasons that we discussed. As I said, the administrators and board members and employees, they're provide electronic devices to perform their duties. And look, we're going to be providing devices and internet access to the students. Now we got to complete the other half, which is the teachers. The second possible area of relief is to put together a stipend. We've had districts like Frisco and other places, they have provided a stipend for the additional costs associated with working at home, including the internet service, electronic devices, and other uses. The third thing is to provide some sort of uniform district system and processes to communicate and provide instruction to students and others and their parents to lessen or just eliminate the use of personal devices so that we can better control uniformity, compliance, and supervision. It's a MIS problem, it's a technology problem. We don't need to call on cell phones like we're doing Zoom. There's different ways that we can communicate without having to use personal devices, without having to worry about the forfeiture provisions. And the big thing too is allows teachers to put input on the front end, not afterwards, because we recognize that we don't have a monopoly on solution and wisdom. If there's something else, we'd very much like to resolve this, and we do appreciate that we're able to get to the board soon before the year actually starts to try to see if we can find some solution. Now, I don't know which of my clients are here, but I asked them, have I accurately stated the grievance? I see Miss Omeda is here. Would you say, shake your head if I have that's a yes? Okay, so I don't know my other clients where they're at, but I know that Miss Omeda has indicated yes. So that concludes our presentation. I do appreciate the additional time to spell out the areas of concern and the relief. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Connors, for the presentation. I appreciate all the information provided. At this time, I will now ask for the district's representative to present a response. You will have 15 minutes for presentation.
Is that for me? I'm sorry.
Good afternoon. My name is Lisa Paul, and I'm here on behalf of the district, and I will be providing a response to the complaint presented by the grievance. Essentially, the grievance, if we could have the PowerPoint up, thank you. There we go. Okay, next slide. Essentially, the grievance argue that the district abused its power when the board approved the 2020-2021 contracts. And specifically, they have problems with two of the contract terms. Specifically, it's section 4.2. The grievance alleged that this provision provides for the illegal reassignment of educators outside their professional capacity. And then they complain about section 6.1, and here the grievance alleged that this provision provides that they will be personally liable for district property in the event that such property is lost, stolen, or damaged. And then finally, they also complain about provision 6.1, and they allege that this particular provision provides for the illegal taking of an educator's personal property, specifically their personal device, during a pandemic or other similar event when the district is closed. Next slide, please. The grievance alleges that these provisions violate the Texas Constitution, the U.S. Constitution, the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, or FERPA, the Texas Public Information Act, the Texas Education Code, and the Texas Educators Code of Ethics. I'd like to start off by saying that this is wrong, that these do not constitute violations of these provisions. And then secondly, I'd like to raise that two of the grievance, Ms. Olmeda and Ms. Zavala, have continuing contracts, and therefore their contracts have not been modified. Additionally, I'd like to add that when the pandemic began, at least here in the United States, the governor ordered the temporary closure of school districts for face-to-face action, this board took swift action to ensure that all personnel were paid while they were remaining at home. Some had duties to perform, like instruction, and others had fewer duties to perform, but all employees were taken care of by this district. I'd also like to add that the pandemic has presented special challenges There have been, it's been a big economic impact to the local community, to the state economy, the local economy, the national economy, and even worldwide. And it has required all businesses to take actions to ensure the health and safety of its stakeholders, as well as continuing to provide for its operations. So let's take a look at the changes that were made to the contract. So let's look at 4.2. It's this slide, actually, if you could go back. It's this, yes. Okay, so this particular, the changes that were made to this particular provision, it makes it clear that when employees are working from home, that they still will be performing their essential duties. Secondly, it does provide that the district can reassign personnel to a position outside their professional capacity, but only due to a triggering event, and that would be such as a pandemic, an epidemic, something like that, a fuel curtailment, weather conditions. It would have to be triggered by some type of event that would require the district to close. Additionally, it makes it clear that this is only temporary, that this reassignment would only be during the triggering event, and when the district resumed its normal operations, that the educators would be restored to their previous capacity. Next slide, please. And so to point out, this is an alternative to a furlough. We know that we're expecting budget cuts. The state has made that very clear. There are home foreclosures, there's unemployment, there's all kinds of economic fallout from the pandemic. And so the district is preparing for budget shortfalls. And so what the grievance would have us do is that those employees that don't have anything or have very few duties, that they would be idle. And what the district is trying to do is to ensure that all employees, that they continue to be paid, but if they're not performing duties or they don't have very many duties, that they assist the district in providing, performing certain duties that are necessary to the efficient operation of the school district. There will be no change in pay. The district, these employees will suffer no change in pay. And again, this is an alternative to a furlough, because if without this, then we would have to furlough those employees that are idle. And I would say that the taxpayers of this school district would expect that the district would make good use of the funds that are made available to the district, and that would be to ensure that employees don't remain idle and continue performing job duties on behalf of the district. Let's take a look at the next slide. Okay, so regarding the changes to 6.1, this particular provision provides that employees to use their personal equipment when they're working from home due to a district closure. This is not an impermissible taking. When the district closed in the spring, employees were given an option to return to the classroom to perform their duties. And in fact, I would direct the board to page 45 of the materials, and you will see the options that were provided to the employees. And I would disagree with Mr. Connors regarding it's not a good option. The commissioner, Mr. Moran, specifically asked the Attorney General of the state of Texas about this issue. And he made it very clear that providing education to the students of the state of Texas is an essential service, and as such, they can return to the classroom to perform such duties. So it is not unreasonable. The district also intended to stagger work schedules so that personnel could remain safe and could exercise social distancing. Additionally, I would add that when that form that is there on page 45 was distributed to the more than 2,600 educators of this school district, less than 0.5% actually chose to return to the district. They chose to, the rest of the employees, the rest of the educators chose to remain working from home and chose to use their personal devices. Next slide, please. Okay, the other change regarding provision 6.1, the grievance argue that this contract provides, this provision provides that they're going to be personally liable in the event that the equipment is lost, damaged, or stolen. And this is not the case. In fact, this provision has existed in the contract for several years. And so this is not anything new. And it says specifically in the contract that it is subject to the limitations of Section 31.104E of the Texas Education Code. Next slide, please. The Texas Education Code requires that the district continue, that they provide a quality education to all the students of the state of Texas. I understand what Mr. Connors is saying regarding the privacy concerns. However, the platform that the district uses, which is called Google Classroom, actually has a piece of that software that is called Google Voice. And when the educator accesses Google Classroom through, or accesses Google Voice through the Google Classroom, the software itself actually provides for a different phone number. It does not use the educator's number. And star 67, they can use that. There should not be a problem or a problem with privacy if they chose to do that. Additionally, if the employees are working from home, their supervisor may need to reach out to them. There may be a concern that someone from the district or their principal or assistant principal actually needs to discuss a concern with them. Next slide, please. Using personal devices has become necessary. We all use them to provide a wide variety of tasks throughout the day. We ask our students to use their personal devices. They use their cell phones. These are unprecedented times, and so everyone has had to adapt. Additionally, I'd like to take a few moments to respond to some of the issues raised by Mr. Connor, specifically that no one reached out to the educators about this. Actually, the district runs these kinds of issues through its district education instructional committee. And remote instruction was certainly one of those issues that was run by this particular committee and the issues related there too. Additionally, the district publishes a newsletter, and that newsletter provides information about the kinds of actions that the district is considering regarding issues that are going to arise. It is not unreasonable or illegal. None of these terms are illegal or unreasonable. They are all done to ensure the effective and efficient use of its personnel and resources that the district has available.
You're at the 10-minute mark, ma'am.
Okay. I'll reserve the rest of my time to respond to Mr. Connors.
All right, so thank you for presentation. At this time, are there any questions for either Mr. Connors or Mrs. Paul from any of the board members that are here present or online?
I have a few.
Go ahead, Mr. Gilpin.
Just to be clear, with respect in your presentation, you mentioned that the phone number would somehow be protected by the software, so make sure I'm clear on that.
Yes, that's my understanding, that this software called Google Classroom has a component that's called Google Voice. And when the educator accesses Google Classroom to use the telephone option of this particular software, that there is an anonymous or a different phone number that is generated. So when it comes through on the other side, the other device, it does not reveal the educator's personal phone number.
So does our staff have the belief that however our policy works, there's nothing we can think of that involves divulging the personal phone number? Is that the way we think it's going to work?
David?
Yeah, it should show. It should show that.
So that'd be a good thing for us to get clarification on, just to make sure, especially if that's possible. And The other question I have is for Mr. Connors. He mentioned that he would be interested in a stipend for the use of these personal devices, but I'm thinking that that would not address the security and privacy concern Mr. Connors brought up. Is there something Mr. Connors had in mind for privacy, as he was suggesting the stipend could be used and the private devices could be used? How would the privacy be addressed in your idea, Mr. Connors?
Well, the concern is there's an expectation to use your cell phone. There is that technology available, but it's going to be an expectation to use your cell phone. And when you use your cell phone, if you block the number, it really defeats the purpose of having accessibility through your cell phone, because they can't call you back and they don't know who you are. Now, Mrs. Omeda had a few comments real quickly on that. Go ahead, Ms. Omeda.
Yes, I would just like to address about the voicemail. We were told several teachers tried it using our UISD web email address. However, it doesn't allow you. You have to go back and use your personal email. So then again, everything goes back to, we have to do everything through our personal use. And to me, that is like opening up Pandora's box. You're opening up a whole set of evils. What if I were to lose my phone? I mean, people will have access to my class dojo, maybe even some of the students' information. Now, that would be something that would affect my livelihood. And I also know that she addressed the fact that, yes, I am on a continuing contract. However,
Off right there. I just wanted to answer to my question, not further presentation.
okay, I apologize.
So to make sure, Mr. Connors, that I'm understanding what you were suggesting in the form of a stipend, did you believe that there was some way that a stipend could be used and somebody's private device could still be used without this privacy issue? Or would the stipend just address part of the problem?
I don't think that there's one simple solution. There's a number of ways to address it, different problems. A stipend would be helpful for addressing the costs that the educators have to incur by doing distance learning, but also having a district issued computer or device can really not only control the cost, but go further and have uniformity, supervision, and accountability, and meeting the record keeping requirements under federal and state law if you conduct school business on devices, whether it be personal or school. There's no longer a distinction under the state law as well as the federal law. If you have student records on your personal, it's the same requirements that you would have on your school. So I'm thinking stipend. I'm also thinking for those situations where you can come up with providing technology and devices. Also, the third option that we were talking about, if we can get a system that's more efficient so we can bypass the usages of personal devices, whether it be private or school issue, that we use those type of devices. So those are the areas of concern and possible resolutions. And districts are using different approaches, anywhere, mostly combination approach.
Thank you. So for our staff members, the way I understand that our emails work for all of our staff is it's not device specific. In other words, you can operate the same email account from your home computer the same way you would operate it at the school district, correct?
We go through Google.
So you don't have to ever use your personal email address at all with that.
You have to log on to Google Search, and Google you can access from any device, any location as well.
And then the last question I have for staff is just to be clear, this is not mandated that somebody use their personal devices. It's just an option that they have, correct?
That's right, sir. I mean, the option obviously always is that they can't come to the campus. We have all the equipment and the whole supplies. I mean, that's another option that we would allow, obviously keep the distance and safety and all these other items. Yes.
Thank you.
Any
So I
other
have a
board-
question. Yes. So for clarification, then the teachers do have access to Google Voice. They just maybe need some instruction on how to access it. Is that correct?
Training for them, yes.
I am being told that it's not a part of our free component for the education suite, that we would have to access that through a personal account. So I'm just getting some clarification on that.
Right, so that'll be an additional, cost that will be incurred through Google, the use of the Google, platform that we're using. I would ask the district, see if we can get the information on it and maybe, you can present it on the next meeting and let us know, see if
We can do
there's
that.
something that we can look at and, we can probably activate for the accounts and then, and see the cost options, and that will already alleviate some of the issues as far as, I know Ms. Olmeda mentioned it right now that she's unable to do it, that she has to go back to her personal device to be able to use that, service that blocks the number. Alisa, any other questions?
No, that's good. Thank you.
Any other board members have any questions or, issues to address with, Mr. Connors or any of the district staff here present?
Yes, let's to the administration, it says, let's study real hard this, because it really, it's not, it's very sensitive on these communications, on these phones, on these iPhones and on computers, because people can really hack all those kinds of instruments and can really ruin the teacher's life, personal life, and the administration legal issue. So we have to really look into it and see what is the best way to work with the teachers, because really they're using their personal use. They're not getting sufficient money to cover all the expenses. And really, I don't know if those things that Mr. O'Connor is mentioning, CIFAS, excuse me. To give it away. I'm sorry?
On the stipend or?
Yeah, CIFAS, yes. So they can be able to accommodate themselves and working through their own personal phones and computers and so forth.
Right. All right, Mr. Ramirez, thank you very much. I will mention that, as a district here, we understand the concerns, of all the, staff and, what's being presented to us. And believe us that, when we mentioned that all the information that we have presented and the changes, have been done with input from a lot of individuals and after careful consideration. I will point out that there's really no one solution to address remote learning and instruction. I know that us in putting that language, again, it does not mandate the employee, the teacher, to use personal device. We'll have options as far as having the campuses open as long as it's deemed still safe and that it's allowed by the governor. However, I think the use of personal device, we're at a point in our lives that it's part of daily use for everybody. So, but again, we will note that it's not mandated. At no point is our intention to take possession of devices or go through devices of our employees. The use is just so it can alleviate issues as far as connectivity with parents and with supervisors. So with that said, we will go into closed session, deliberate, and then come back with a decision. I will ask everybody here present if they can please step out of the room, and then I'll have district staff also go ahead and close off the online. Agenda item 7, reconvening from closed session. Time is now 1:32 p.m. and the board will take appropriate action on items if necessary as discussed in closed session. Item 7A, action regarding the interlocal agreement between UISD and LISD concerning the 23-acre tract of land acquired by LISD and UISD boundaries.
The recommendation is to approve the interlocal agreement between UISD and Laredo ISD concerning the 23-acre tract of land acquired by LISD in UISD boundaries as recommended by Attorney Kenny Balls.
So moved.
Second.
Second, any further discussion? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Unopposed, motion carries.
Bless you.
Let's see. Item 7B, action regarding level 3 variance presentation of Alberta Canela, Etna Olmeda, Irma Zavala, and similarly situated UISD educators and matters incident thereto.
Yes, in regards to the grievance filed by Berta Canela, Edna Olmeda, Irma Zavala, and other similar situated employees, the recommendation is to grant the requested remedy of ensuring that the teachers not use their personal cell phones to especially communicate with parents and students. District employees will use their district-issued email and Google communication platforms to conduct their day-to-day business, and cell phones will only be used as a last resort to communicate with campus supervisory staff. The board will also mandate that all provisions of DH local remain in effect, and classroom teachers' cell phones shall not be subject to confiscation or search. District staff will be able to come to their campus classrooms to contact students and parents. And district administration will come back to the board with a plan and presentation at the next meeting in regards to the Google Voice features and related costs. Further, the following remedies of the grievance be granted: written assurance that they will not be subject to retaliation for bringing and maintaining the grievance, written assurance that the issues raised in the grievance will be effectively addressed. And last, in regard to the contract provision pertaining to temporary employment reassignments outside the professional capacity during a mandated school closure, this remedy is moot due to the fact that no reassignments under this contract provision have taken place. However, classroom teachers shall not be reassigned outside their classroom teaching duties for the next school year. All of the requested remedies are hereby denied.
So move.
Second.
So move with a second. Any further discussion? Favor, aye.
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 All those opposed? None opposed, motion carries. And item 8, adjournment time is now 1:35. Thank you very much and good afternoon.